Nellie has been resting up because it's almost time for humans to go to bed, which means it's time for kitty cats to get the zoomies. You have to be a well-rested kitty to have the zoomies, don't you, Nellie? Don't ya? Don't ya? Hello, hello, close up. Yeah, are you all ready to raise havoc?
Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me today. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about insomnia, problems getting to sleep and staying asleep, or maybe feeling sleep deprived and moving through your days in a state of brain fog and being kind of like a walking zombie because you didn't get enough rest. Now, we all know the importance of rest. I'm not a medical doctor. I have a PhD in communication, but I have suffered from this problem on a personal level for a long, long time. I've done a lot of reading. I've done a lot of consultation with my own doctors. And here are some things that I've discovered about insomnia and sleep deprivation and some of the coping mechanisms I use. So in this video, I'd like to talk about 3 different aspects of insomnia or sleep deprivation. First, I'd like to talk about what to do when you are moving into a day when you're sleep deprived and you can't fix it right now. You can't sleep in, you can't get more sleep, you've got to get up and get going, but you're extremely fatigued. So what can you do to get through that day in the best possible way? Secondly, I'd like to talk about things you can do in the short term. You can even start practicing these tonight to get to sleep, fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up well rested. And then thirdly, I'd like to talk about some longer term strategies, how you can build routines into your life that should help you correct this problem for a long period of time. So first, let's start with what do you do if you didn't get a good sleep last night? You're feeling the brain fog, you're moving into the world in a state of sleep deprivation. How are you going to get through this day? Maybe you've had no sleep. Maybe you've had just a few hours of sleep, but you have to get up. That alarm is going off and you have to go catch a plane this morning, or you have an important meeting this morning, or you have to go to class this morning, and there's no way around it. You can't stay in bed any longer. You have to get up and get moving and cope with what's ahead. What are some things you can do? Well, my first piece of advice is to try to eat some protein. Okay, take a little time for some breakfast, even if you're on your way out the door and breakfast is just a stick of string cheese or something like that. You need some protein in your system. Drink a glass of water. If you take vitamins or supplements in the morning, make sure you take them now. Coffee helps some people and not others. Energy drinks, caffeine drinks help some people and not others. I love coffee. I love the taste of coffee, so I drink a lot of it, but those high caffeine energy shots or energy drinks just give me heart palpitations. So those aren't good for me. Also, those can throw you too far in the other direction to where your brain is fatigued, but your body is kind of wired up, and that's not a good state to be in either. So first thing I would say, eat a little something. Try to eat a little protein, a handful of nuts, a stick of cheese, drink a glass of water, take your vitamins or supplements if you take those. Okay, secondly, if you have time, take a shower. Take a quick shower. A shower can go a long way to waking you up. Even if it means that you end up having to go out with wet hair, or you don't have time for your normal grooming routine that you do, the shower can really, really help. Now, think about your day ahead and where you might be able to cut back on your obligations and activities. Is there something today that you can cancel so you can go home early? Is there time this afternoon where you can work in a short nap? Is there a way you can cancel something or plan something for this evening so that you can get to bed earlier? Look at the day ahead and see if you can create time for rest, physical rest, even if you can't actually sleep, just time to let your mind and body be at ease. Okay, so there's no harm, and it's not a crime, it's not a character flaw to be overtired, to take half a sick day, to cancel a non-urgent appointment or meeting in order to get home earlier. Okay, so those are some things you can do in the immediate time if you're walking into this day sleep deprived, some things to think about. Now let's say you're laying in bed tonight and you're having a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep. This happens to me a lot because my mind is just running, and even if I'm really fatigued, I can't shut things down and get my rest. So here are some procedures you can follow. First of all, turn off your devices. Quit scrolling on your phone. Turn off any devices that emit that blue light. Turn off the TV. For a short time before bed, just read a magazine or book or write in a journal. Do something that's not connected to technology. This will help your mind shut down. Secondly, go through your nighttime ritual. So, put on your jammies, brush your teeth, do all those things that tell your mind that it's bedtime. You know best whether you need a dark, quiet room or you need a little bit of light or a little bit of sound. I sleep with a fan on because I need that white noise. And I find that if I'm spending the night somewhere else and I don't have my fan with me, I have to turn on some white noise video on my phone or something like that because I need that to go to sleep. Your mileage may vary, but make the room dark or quiet or whatever it is that you need to get to sleep. Pay attention to your breathing. Okay, so you're laying there, you're trying to fall asleep. Breathe in, breathe out, and try to just concentrate on that breathing. And when thoughts come into your mind, push them aside. Breathing is all you're going to think about right now. It kind of goes back to that old cliche about counting sheep, right? Engaging your mind in something that's monotonous can really help you nod off and fall asleep. Another technique you can use is getting rid of your daily burdens. And one technique for doing this is to imagine those burdens as objects you're holding in your arms, and you're going to walk across the room and one by one throw them down. Okay, one by one throw them down. So this represents my worries about my class tomorrow, throw it away. This represents my worries about my meeting tomorrow, throw them away. And then once you've thrown all those burdens onto the pile, you envision that pile being swept up into the sky. Is it swept up into heaven and given to God? That's up to you, but it's just a metaphor. You imagine it being swept up and away. That can clear your mind. Another thing to do is keep a notepad by your bed, and if you think of something right before you drop off and you say, oh, I want to remember that and I'm afraid I'm going to have forgotten it by morning, write it down right then. Okay? Eating a little protein right at bedtime too is a technique that works for a lot of people. Another one is to move somewhere else in the house. I always fall asleep in my recliner chair. So if I'm having trouble falling asleep in bed, I can move to the recliner and fall asleep almost immediately. You might have success sleeping on your sofa or something like that. So sometimes just moving to another place where you know that you can doze off easily can be a solution. Finally, what can you do about chronic insomnia and chronic sleep deprivation? If you're just always tired and feel like you're not really coping that well because you can't get to sleep and then you can't wake up and then you're moving through the day like a zombie, what can you do about that? Well, there are a few longer-term solutions you can try. First of all, establish a bedtime routine. Pick a time when you're going to turn off the TV, turn off devices. You're going to make your room ready. If you need blackout curtains or if you need white noise or whatever that might be, maybe take a long bath right before bed. Maybe eat something. Again, eating a little protein can sometimes be helpful. Maybe you read a chapter of a book, you brush your teeth, you put your pajamas on, maybe you write in a journal. Maybe you write your to-do list for the next day. Whatever combination of activities is most pertinent to you. But if you repeat those night after night, you're training your brain to know that doing this series of activities means it's bedtime and time to go to sleep. Then when you do lay down, you make the room dark and quiet or whatever it is you need. Again, counting breaths or doing some sort of monotonous, repetitious thought pattern can be helpful in boring yourself to sleep. Okay, so those are a couple of things you can do to establish a long-term sleeping habit is to have that nighttime routine and adhere to it. The next thing you might want to think about is, are you taking any medications or supplements? And if you are, read up on the ones you're taking and see if sleeplessness or excitability is a side effect of those medications. If it is, I recommend that you talk to your doctor about those medications. Okay, I would never recommend that you stop taking something or reduce your dosage of something that's a prescription medication. Okay, you always want to do this in consultation with your doctor. But if you think one of your medications or supplements is exacerbating your sleep problem, it might be worth talking to your physician and see, is there a way to adjust my dose, or is there an alternative medication that I could maybe take that would help to solve my insomnia problem. Now, as I said before, I don't recommend drinking a lot of coffee or energy drinks. I also don't recommend taking a lot of sleep aids. Some people do use them occasionally, but you don't want to get into that habit. And even natural sleep aids like melatonin gummies or things like that can have a stronger effect on some people than others. I find if I take any kind of a chemical sleep aid, like an aspirin that has a PM to it, that kind of thing, I can often feel very groggy for a couple of days. It kind of makes me feel hungover the next day, which doesn't really solve the problem. So be very careful of taking those sleep aids. They hit some people harder than others, and they can build up in your system. So if you think it might be connected to any kind of medication or supplement, talk to your doctor. Another thing you might consider is doing a sleep study. I did a hospital sleep study a few years ago because I was concerned that maybe I wasn't sleeping well because I had sleep apnea. My brother wears a breathing mask at night for sleep apnea, and I thought that might be my problem too. So I did a sleep study where they gave me this device that was like a little electronic box on a strap that I wore around my middle. And I had to wear it while I slept, and it recorded my sleeping habits. And then I had to turn it in, and they would download the information from it and analyze it. And it turned out there was nothing wrong with me in that department. So I had no sleep abnormalities that they were able to identify that way, but at least I knew. So that's another thing you can ask your doctor about if you're having chronic sleep problems, is whether or not that kind of a sleep study might be useful for you. Okay, I wish you all the best. I wish you good rest. We all need good rest. The body repairs itself when we sleep. The brain reboots when we sleep. So it's really important to get this rest the best way that we can. I send you all my best wishes for a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.